Hey everybody, it's Carrie and Dale. We're here to announce the winner of the March contest. Very exciting. In case you weren't aware, we had a March contest going on that was for a free Park Seed biodome. It was going to be one of the 18 cell ones. So we've been using them all the time and we absolutely love them. And we've been using them for our tomatoes, and that reminds me too, along with the 18 cell biodome, we are giving away the Park Seed Whopper tomato seeds too. So I hope that this lucky winner enjoys. Should we go ahead and jump right in and announce
I
the
don't know.
winner?
I think we gotta make him wait a little bit.
Anticipation, build up the anticipation.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So let's also talk about the point of this live stream too, where we're going to answer people's questions.
Yes. So part of the contest was to post on YouTube, put any comments that you guys had, any questions and things like that. We got so many questions, which is amazing. I loved it. I tried my best to keep up with them, so I'm sorry if I didn't answer your question. I was like working night and day on my phone nonstop, like answering questions, but there were so many. We thought that we could take some of these questions and answer some of them today.
And then also, if you have questions, just throw them in the chat. We can pull them up on the screen. We're trying out this cool new app called Restream that lets us like live stream to Instagram and Facebook at the same time, and pull up y'all's questions and do all sorts of cool stuff. So pretty excited to try this out.
Yeah,
But
we're playing around with it today too. So.
we've got a lot of questions to go through. We'll go ahead and announce the winner though.
Okay.
So
Non
yeah, drum roll.
drum roll, Marty. Drum roll.
Do you do drum rolls, Marty?
Marty.
He doesn't do it.
He doesn't do it. Okay. So the lucky winner was Donna Alexander.
Yay!
Woo! She is going to be the lucky winner of the 18 cell biodome and the Park Seed Whopper tomato seeds. So, Donna, all you need to do is to send us an email at info@seedtospoon.net. Send us your address where you would like it shipped, and we will get it shipped to you.
I made even a fancy thing to put up on the screen. Remember?
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, there you go. You did it.
There it is.
Donna Alexander. Woo! Yay!
So we'll leave that on screen for a little bit.
Yeah.
That way, as people,
while people are coming in.
Yeah, because like with these live streams, we got to figure out how to announce that too.
Yeah, I didn't know exactly what time we were going to be able to do the live stream.
Our life is chaos. We don't know when we're gonna be able to do anything.
Yeah, it's always busy. So
yeah. All right, let's dive into some of these questions that we've got here. I see we got something. Oh, congratulations! That was in the chat. All right. So we are way behind on comments. We try our best to keep up, but I think this live stream is going to be good. So I'm going to go through and grab some of these questions that we've got here. So, Carrie, can you talk more about growing carrots in the Smart Pot? Did you add sand to the mix? Have you had better results in the Smart Pots? You know what? I bet you I can copy and paste this and bring it over into our chat. Then everyone can just see what I'm talking about here.
Okay.
We'll try that.
So when I'm growing the carrots, we use the same soil mix as we use for the rest of the garden too. So it is 1/3 of the vermiculite and perlite, or perlite. They're interchangeable, and then the 1/3 of either the peat moss or coconut coir, and then the 1/3 compost. And then I did in this bed before I planted them, I did put some espoma fertilizer, just the the all-purpose, is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
The all-purpose espoma fertilizer on top, and just kind of mixed that in, since this was our first planting of the season. Wanted to get the garden all ready and all that. So that's the mix that we used. Now, that being said, you can do sand also. We've done it in the past, but this mixture that I'm using right now doesn't have any sand. So.
Yeah, we've used sand in the past, especially to save money, because the vermiculite and perlite is expensive. So there have been times where we just couldn't afford to buy it. So at that point, we substituted sand, especially when we were first building out our garden at the old house and we were building lots of raised beds. We substituted sand at that point.
Yeah. What was the other part of the question? I know it was asking about the mix and sand.
Have you had better results in Smart Pots compared to raised beds?
With carrots, I'd say about the same, honestly, for carrots. As long as the biggest thing with carrots, we just need to make sure that it is deep enough. So our previous raised beds that we had built weren't super deep, so we didn't have great success, but I think if we had made them deeper, it would have gone better. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, is there
Yeah,
anything
and
you
the make sure the soil is light. So if you're going to grow carrots, like I wouldn't grow somewhere where you've got a lot of clay soil or something like that. Make sure it's somewhere that you've put a bunch of compost and peat moss and vermiculite and stuff like that into to help lighten it up.
Mhm. Yeah, I always, whenever I'm planting them, I always go through, especially if it's my second year using that soil. Like, I always try to freshen it up with fresh compost, and then I go through and break up the soil too, and make sure that the carrots can grow down, especially like any root crops that you're going to be doing. You want to make sure the soil's nice and loose.
Yep. We got some questions from the chat. Let me pull these up. So the first one is they just found our app. Appreciate the kind words
Awesome.
about the app. They want to know what happens if you plant something in a smart pot that's too small. Okay, so it's going to depend on the plant. Um, Something like a tomato, technically, you can get away with planting it in a 1 gallon smart pot. We've tried it. We planted a
It's
tomato in a
harder.
1 gallon. It's way harder because if you miss watering, you've got a good chance of killing that plant. So the larger, if you plant in the right size smart pot, you're going to have a plant that is going to be healthier. It's going to be happier. It's going to have enough water on hand. It's going to be able to survive you forgetting to water it for a day or two.
Which is always
If
us,
you're
you
a gardener
know.
like we are, then that's a concern
I
because
mean,
we
we go
are,
out there every day, but yeah, it's hard to keep up with the, big gardens sometimes. And then
yeah.
sometimes smart pots can be hiding behind other plants, and yeah. So we like to do the bigger ones, just more room for air.
Yeah, and some of these plants like to have a big root ball too, so you need to have a large enough smart pot to be able to
Mhm.
handle all the roots that plant needs to have.
Yeah. But I mean, if you do accidentally plant it in one that's too small, you can always just take it out and put it into a bigger one.
Yeah.
Unless it's a root crop or something like that. Obviously, you can't transplant that, but
And the next question is kind of related. Curious why we're growing in smart pots instead of raised bed gardens. So we actually started with raised bed gardens. If you go to our website at seedtospoon.net, you can see what our first garden looked like, and it was a standard urban backyard garden with the wooden raised beds, and those wooden raised beds rotted on us after about 3 or 4 years. That's one of the big
I don't
reasons
think it
why.
even lasted 3 or 4 years,
Yeah,
honestly.
it's one of the big reasons why we switched to smart pots, but also we found that things grew better in smart pots. So um, specifically things like tomatoes and peppers, we found that they grew better than the ones we have in the raised bed. And if you look at the marketing from smart pots and you look into some of the science behind it, I think there's some validity to what they're saying about how plants are getting air from additional, like, so typically if you plant something on the ground, it's only going to get air from above, right? From but with a plant that's potted in a smart pot, it's going to be able to, once the roots hit the side of that smart pot, they don't circle around like they do in a container. They continue to suck in air and stuff from the outside. So we've just had great success with them. Also, the portability is really nice. We're here in Oklahoma and the weather is chaos, and we get random ice storms and windstorms and you name it, we have it here. So being able to move them, especially early in the season when we might get a late frost, is great because we can get our tomatoes outside in April in those smart pots, and then if we get a late frost or a late cold front, then we can move them into our shop area where we can bring them indoors in the winter.
Yeah, in one year, I know you did a test actually. We planted several of the same things into a smart pot and a raised bed and in the ground. Like, we were just testing to see how well everything would do. And although we had to water a little bit more frequently, even though it wasn't that much, the things that were in the smart pot actually really outperformed the stuff that was in the raised bed.
And follow up, like the recommendation for a 20 gallon for zucchini, is that for one plant? I'm surprised it's 20 gallons for zucchini. I need to go look at that because honestly, I would think it would be more along the lines of 7 to 10 for a zucchini. Um, the thing about zucchini too is uh, I don't typically plant it in like one of those bigger, like 20 gallon, like tall ones. I like to plant that in more of like a big bag bed or something because it's going to get real tall. And if it falls over on the side, like I don't like them to be in super tall containers. So Typically, honestly, we're growing zucchini in the ground here in Oklahoma because it grows really well. I see a question about what zone we're in. We're in zone 7 here in Oklahoma. So zucchini grows on the ground really well here. So that's one of those things we're really not planting in smart pots very often. It's one of the few things we don't plant in smart pots. I mean, like okra, zucchini, corn.
Any other squashes, really?
Yeah.
Anything like that?
Yeah,
Viney.
those are pretty much the things that we're planting in the ground.
Mhm. Yeah, we try to grow our zucchini so that way it can grow upright too, just because we have a huge issue with squash bugs here. So if you try and grow it upright too, it makes it so much better and you can spot the nasty squash bugs a lot easier.
Yes, for sure. We've got a lot of videos that talk about that in the past where we've grown squash also like up a T-post. So if you're growing in a 20 gallon, you're growing like up a T-post and attaching it to it, that'll work fine.
Yeah.
Just again, like I'm a pretty lazy gardener and I'm not real good about going in and trellising things and doing all that kind of stuff. So we like things to be able to grow wild the way they like to grow as best as possible. All right, let me
Least
look.
amount of work from us too.
Yeah.
Right? The easier the better, in my opinion.
Looking for more questions.
Well, I know I had questions about the seeds over there, how I stored seeds.
You want to show this thing?
Yeah, I can show that.
Now, I don't know if this is like our ultimate solution. This is what we're doing now.
Yeah. So hopefully y'all can see this. This is super simple fix for us. Before we were just keeping them in like boxes and things like that. And we were like, we really wanted to get organized this year and keep everything separate. So we got this, and I will tell you, not the best place, but you can get this at, I mean, any sort of craft store or big box store too. And we got this in the craft section. Can I say where?
Sure.
Walmart. I'm sorry. But it has worked great for us. So we just have it separated. We have cool season, warm season, and then we have a section for herbs, and we need to make another section too for flowers now that we have a bunch of flowers in.
Well, I think what we're gonna do is actually switch to using like a trapper keeper or like a binder, and then doing the pencil holders for each plant. Because the thing that's annoying about this is if we want to find like what we're planting for the spring, like we've got, I don't know if y'all can see what's going on here. We've got them all like lined in here, and sometimes it's just not easy to go through and find what you're looking for as fast as what we're looking for.
I try to keep it alphabetical, but it never fails that
something
gets put away wrong, or the kids come in here and look because they're always looking through here too. But still, it's an easy fix, especially if you don't have that many seeds. I like this. So that here, I'll just put it back over here.
Let me see if there's any other questions from our chat here. All right, so any plans to add the scan code to load seed information? It's a good idea.
That is. I actually haven't seen that one before.
Yep.
I like that.
It's a good idea. We could, with Park Seed, does Park Seed have a barcode on theirs? I don't even know. I doubt they do because they don't sell in stores. Yeah, there's no barcode on the Park Seed ones. But we, on a related note, we are going to be adding the ability to add your own custom varieties. So that is, and I was probably talking about the app a little bit too, because we've had some questions coming up about the app that now would probably be a good time to address some of that stuff. So you're going to see an update rolling out next week. We've pretty much got it ready, but we've learned not to release updates on Fridays. So we're going to roll it out on Monday. And it's going to, there's so much in there that has changed. We have taken a lot of the feedback that we've gotten, specifically, a lot of older Android phones. I'll be honest, like we've gotten some feedback about it running slow in older Androids and things like that. And we wanted to come back and fix that kind of stuff. So we put a lot of time and effort in this month into rewriting how a lot of core stuff works in the app and getting everything in a place where we're comfortable charging for Garden Plus, because we're not going to charge you until it's solid and it's
perfect.
Yeah. Yep. And we haven't been able to work on this app full time until just a few months ago. And we've been spending a lot of our time just going back and getting our code more solid, getting bugs fixed, getting it in a position where we're comfortable charging. And Custom plants will be one of those first things that we add. We're gonna hoping to work on that here in the next few weeks. We talked about this morning how we're gonna be working on it, how we're gonna do it, and certain things like that. So I'm hoping by the end of this month we will have, this month, just the end of this new month that just started, end of April, we'll be rolling some of that stuff out. But like I said, you'll be seeing an update coming out this week that will have a lot of changes. Hopefully, things you don't even necessarily notice. What you'll notice is it'll run faster, and like, for example, Carrie uses the app probably more than anyone because she's making screenshots and recordings and stuff all the time, and she was noticing that like when the app went to sleep and she pulled it back up, there was like a little bit of a white screen for like a second and a half. So that type of stuff should be gone. Well, is gone because Carrie made sure we fixed it. So
hey, I'm using it just as much as you guys, so I want it to be perfect too.
Pam was asking if we will add flowers into the app. So we do have some flowers in there. We will be adding more.
I'm gonna be adding zinnias for sure. I know that's on my list.
One of the big changes that we've made also is change the way that plants work in the app so that we can add new plants at any time without having to do an update. So that was a significant amount of work to change all that over. And we now have a really nice, pretty app that we built for Carrie that she can go in and add plants and change information on the app and do all that kind of stuff. So we'll be adding a lot more flowers. We have to draw a line somewhere though. Because it's still just 5 of us and we want the information in the app to be accurate and to be good. And some other apps, I will not name them, but I've seen other apps out there that are pulling in data from like big databases and stuff where they're not being gone through with a person first. And I don't want our app to be that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I go through whenever these plants get added, like I go through and manually research every single category and every topic and everything like that. So it all goes through me. And yeah,
so the line that we've drawn, so we've had several lines. Our first line that we drew was we're going to add everything that people know of in the grocery store. I feel like we've gotten that now. Then we started to branch out to add things that are in some of the farmers markets and maybe some of the other grocery stores around town. So I feel like we've got a pretty good job on that now. Now our big focus is branching out into more flowers, more edible flowers, more herbs, more medicinal things of that nature. So if y'all have specific plants that you want us to add, send those in. We've had thousands of requests. We have them all in this nice spreadsheet, like categorized by how many of each one we have. So we're going through and adding them all based on that. So
yeah, so if you request it, you'll get another vote up to the top, and we're starting at the top. So the plants that are most requested, those are the ones we start with, and then we'll work our way down.
Yep. Tanya asked what the cost will be on Garden Plus. So we have not established the exact cost yet, but it will be less than a packet of seeds per month. That is a line that we are not going to cross. We want it to be affordable. I feel like that's a fair price. And it's not a price we're going to go over. So I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet. I don't know exactly if we're going to have monthly, if it's going to be quarterly. I'm still working on that kind of stuff. So bear with us on that side. We're focused on building the code part of it first, and we'll circle back and figure out some of that other stuff. But it will be less than a packet of seeds per month. So that is something I can say for sure. About the seeds having barcodes, yeah, I got to look into that because I don't know if we can read information. Like I got to see how well that works as far as being able to like scan a barcode, and if every seed company has a different format of data or how that works. I just don't know enough about it. So I just need to build a little sample app where I can scan a barcode and see what data I'm getting, and then we go from there. So it's a great idea, though. We will definitely look into that. Donna says she hates bugs.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I hate software bugs more than real bugs, though. I think software bugs are the ones that keep me up at night. Like that's why we're not releasing an update on a Friday again, because last time we did that, there were some emails that started coming in Friday night and Saturday, and I'm starting to get nervous, and I don't want to email my developers on the weekend. So we're not doing that again. Software bugs, I don't like at all. Real bugs aren't too good either, but at least
there's some solving of them.
Yeah, well, we solve our bugs too. Well, Justin does. Justin and Patrick do. Justin and Patrick are our developers, and Justin is a legit genius. He amazes us every day. and he did some pretty incredible code on this update. So I wish I could take y'all behind the scenes on some of this code and explain it, because it's from a developer's viewpoint, seeing what he comes up with, it's just magical. Sometimes we call him the wizard. So I think that's all the questions from chat. Now throw some more in here if y'all have any more questions. Otherwise, I'm going to go back over into my tab I've got for YouTube here and grab some more here. One moment. Carrie, I know we've been getting a lot of other questions. Do you remember any other ones? We get so many comments, and a lot of these are just thanks for the info type stuff. So that's not
I can pull up and start looking too.
Well, thank you. That's something nice. Like that.
Aw, that's very sweet.
You know what's so cool about our YouTube comments is like 99%, more than that, like 99.9% of them are overwhelmingly positive, and that's an anomaly on YouTube. I tell people all the time, it's our YouTube community is an anomaly, because all of y'all are nice to us, and that is not the way it works on YouTube very often. We read every comment, so it's nice that we don't have to. I don't have to hide the mean ones from Carrie, or like none of that really happens. It's pretty awesome. I appreciate y'all.
Okay, I see a question on YouTube here about where we got the large hoops from in our garden. So is there a way to pop up a picture of our garden where we have the hoops?
Yep. Do you have the picture handy? Well, there is a way, but we got to be more prepared next time if we're gonna do that.
Well, yeah, I just saw the question.
Yeah.
So we build these PVC domes in each of our big bag beds, smart pots, the round raised beds, and we did that this last fall to try and protect a lot of our crops for over the winter and try and increase our growing season into the winter time. And they also work really well too for the springtime, to put like bug insect netting over top of. So if you're having issues with like cabbage moss or random things like that, you can put some insect netting over top of your plants too. So that's what those are. If you see a picture of our garden, and we have like those big white hoops over our gardens.
We have a video too, where she showed all about making that, and
yeah, I have a video where we made one of those from start to finish. And
I think you could probably say that about anything in our garden at this point.
I've made a lot of videos, so
yeah, it's our jobs now. It's so cool.
It's amazing. I love it.
It'll never get old. This is literally just our job now. It's so thank you everyone for making that happen. This is so cool. We can't cut out our ums because we don't have our cutting out software. We have really cool software that we use on our other videos where we get to cut out our ums and so's and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because I'm notorious. I say a lot.
I just did it. I thought it'd be easier to find questions, but there's just so many nice things in here that aren't really
Okay, here's a question about how you go about making your own seed tape. Oh, and this came from our winner also. Donna Alexander. She was our winner for this month. She wants to know how to make your own seed tape.
We should just go read all of Donna's comments, because she had a lot. She had a lot of really good stuff from the month.
So you want to go over how to do seed tape? You've talked about it before.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done it. The basic idea is you use toilet paper, and then you put the seeds between that. But we need to do it again and make a video on it. So
I'll be doing that. So stay tuned.
That'll be a project with the kids. That's the kind of thing. It's a great thing to do. Like when the kids are out of school, or if there's something going on like that, like that's a great thing that we like to do, is to make seed tape or plant or do whatever. We usually put them to work in the garden, because I hate planting onions, for one. There's so many onions to plant.
Garlic and
and
like that.
Yeah, so they
love it. They get
my back is always killing
excited.
me after I'm trying to plant onions.
Yeah, the kids get so excited whenever we say we're going out into the garden, and they want to plant everything and do everything they can.
Going back to the chat, we have new messages. Thanks, Josh. Donna, we are in Oklahoma. Yep.
Yeah, we are Central Oklahoma, Zone 7.
We are not on Locals or Rumble. We can barely keep up with our socials that we have now.
It really is a full-time job just to keep up with these ones.
We've tried to like just focus on YouTube, and then we post to Instagram and it automatically goes to Facebook. But we're bad on comments everywhere. We'll be honest about that. We're not good at comments, but that's why we're doing this live stream. And I think we want to keep doing this, at least once a month to go through and answer questions. And this is fun so far. So we'll keep doing it.
Okay. What other seeds would you recommend using for the seeding square?
Great question.
Yeah, that is. First of all, I love the seeding square. I have a seeding square in here. So if you don't know what the seeding square is, this is the seeding square. I love it. I'm a huge fan. We have had these things for years, since the kids were really young, and we used it in the garden with them for learning counting and colors and all sorts of things like that. And it's been so much fun using it. But that being said, we use it out in the garden mainly for those plants that we plant more dense. So things like lettuce, certain varieties of lettuce, I will say that, not like necessarily the head lettuce, but the lettuce that we grow for the leaves. Anything that's like 16 per square. So carrots, radish, beets. What else am I forgetting? Anything that's 16 per square,
beets are 9.
We always do it. Well, and anything that's, even sometimes when it's the lesser ones, I do it. But if it's like 4 or less, I don't typically use them, just because I can eyeball that really easily. Unless I have the kids out there with me, then the kids will obviously want to use the seeding square just because it's so much fun. But
yeah, onions are one we do a lot with that too.
Oh, I did garlic with that too. I couldn't get the garlic to fit through the holes though, but what I did, I put the seeding square up, and then I made the holes for the seeding square, and then I took it off, and you can see where the holes were for the seeding square. So I just dropped it in then afterwards. And that worked great too. It just works really well for me to eyeball how spaced out I want my plants, and it makes the layout a lot better.
We've got a question from chat about adding yellow crooknut squash into Garden Plus. So this is a question we get a lot of, and we might need to do different than what we're doing now. What we've done so far is they're both under summer squash, because technically they're in the same. They're both listed as summer squashes, and if we start trying to make a plant for every type of squash, then it's different than what we do with tomatoes, right? Because like for winter squash, because we do have acorn squash. Squash is weird in the app. We've got to figure out. So maybe we do just do zucchini and then yellow squash and just have them both there, because this has been a common question.
I can do that.
Okay. So that's probably what we should do, is just split those.
I will add yellow squash into the app.
Because we have acorn squash and butternut squash in the other winters.
Like the common ones.
Mm-hmm. But my OCD is then asking me, well, why don't we do that for some of the other plants? So I've just got to accept that some things have to be different. Question about before I jump over here, I saw another question from you. Two ponds. That's what that's what it. Talk about organic bug killers. That was a question you asked 3 days ago on our channel. So let's talk about how we handle insects organically. Okay. So every insect is going to be, or every pest is going to be a little different. That's why we built the pest section in our app, and it has like specific details about each one. But I can say that, they're in a nutshell, there are specific things we use. So Espoma is a brand of fertilizer and insect control that is completely organic. We've used that as a spray. We do have to be careful here in Oklahoma, though, because once the temperature gets above 80 or 90, you really can't spray. Or really 90 is the cutoff. You really, once you start spraying leaves, you start suffocating them and you start causing other issues there. So they're really depending on what it is. If it's an aphid, I'm just going to use soapy water. There's no reason to use anything other than that.
If you even need to do that. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of the times you can just spray the undersides of the leaf if you're worried about it, or we just try to attract ladybugs, or you can order ladybugs too and release them in your garden. And if they're happy and fed, they're going to stay there and keep eating all your aphids. So.
The biggest, I mean, the most times we're going to use a spray is going to be, especially like indoors with flies in our seed starting area or gnats, like we've used it in there. Tried to use it for squash bugs and stuff, but it doesn't seem to ever work.
Squash bugs are just my nemesis in the garden.
So it's pretty rare that we're using an actual spray. Like,
yeah, typically we do more of like, if we're going to do something out there, we do like diatomaceous earth. We've done BT. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all that we really do, besides trying to attract the beneficials to come in and handle it for us, put them to work instead of us. Makes it so much easier.
Josh talks about, he started a compost pile that any helps with keeping it hot and working. Make sure you have a good mixture of nutrients in there. So what I mean is, you don't want to have all carbon or all nitrogen. You want to have a mix of both. So that's going to be a good mix of browns and greens. We've also added things like coffee grounds into our compost in the past to help add some nitrogen and heat it up and get it breaking down. The biggest thing I can tell you though is to turn it frequently. So
and keep it watered.
Yeah, the more often that you turn it. So when I geeked out on compost for a few years, not as much anymore. Now I just prefer to buy giant truckloads and have it delivered. But there were a few years, right? Especially when we lived in the city, where I was, we were making compost and learning all about it and doing all that kind of stuff. And the biggest takeaway from that was, the faster you turn it, the faster you're going to get it. And what I would do is I would build a pile about 3 or 4 feet tall, and then I would they have these long thermometers, like this long, and stuck that in, and then it would tell me the temperature in the middle of the pile. And once it hit 150, I would let it sit at 150 for a day or two, and then turn it, and then water it down real good, and then you just do that over and over. So that's the biggest advice I can give, is to also don't be afraid to cover it. I've noticed better success with some of our compost piles if we cover it with a tarp or something like that. What other advice do we have for compost? The thing about like our current lifestyle, living out on 5 acres like we do now, is pretty much all of our compost goes to animals, whether it's pigs or chickens or goats. So, and then we take their manure and then make our compost from that. So all of our kitchen scraps and things like that don't really go to the compost anymore. And really, like, composting with kitchen scraps can be a pain sometimes because it takes a while for those to break down. Like a banana peel is going to take a long time to break down in a compost, and you'll be seeing those in there for a long time. So those type of things we prefer now just to give to an animal. If you live in the city, you can use rabbits for this, for a lot of different things too.
Yeah, we had a couple Flemish giant rabbits, so they were real big, but we had them when we lived in the city, and they worked great. You can take their manure and put that right into the garden. Worked really well.
Yep. A question here. What's to do with the dirt in the smart pots at the end of the season? So we usually leave it in there at the end of the season. They just sit there over the winter. They're not going to last as long. Like if you empty them out and bring them inside and do all that, they will last longer. I'm not the kind of person that will ever take the time to do that.
Well, and the amount of smart pots that we have too, because
we have
like
100 at least. We have so many smart pots.
Yeah. So what we do, just in the beginning of the season, whenever we go to plant, we typically do bring like a wagon or a wheelbarrow over. We dump it out, mix it all up, add in some fresh compost, and then put it back in. So that way we're freshening it up and giving more life to it, but we're not doing the extra whole bunch of work that we have to do in the fall.
And sometimes it depends on the smart pot too. You can tell by looking at a smart pot how the life is in it. If the soil in there, like, you can smell the soil, you'll smell the life in it. That may not do as much. Or we may have another smart pot where maybe it was we mixed it with a heavier batch of peat moss and vermiculite, and I just can tell that there's not much life in there. I'll add a lot more compost into that. So, and we'll like combine 4 or 5 smart pots into a big barrel or wagon and then empty out from there to get a better mix going. We'll add in
Yeah.
our fertilizer during that time too. So that's typically what we do. But they definitely will last longer if you bring them in and wash them and do all that kind of stuff. That's just ain't nobody got time for that around here.
Well, and ours have lasted what, like 5 years now, right? At least.
Yeah,
And they're still going strong.
yeah.
So
They're just not as pretty as they would be.
yeah, well, that's
They've
true.
got like
Yes.
the algae on the side because we have
Well,
them all next to each other, and
and
like
the
they're
algae
just
too came from because we have them in a flood area, which is the great thing about smart pots too, is because we can have them in an area that will flood and they will be just fine. But yeah, so a lot of it came from that because we had the water coming up from the sides too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fine. They still work great.
Do we grow any herbs? We grow all the herbs, Bernadette.
all of the herbs. We are
I am
we are herb collectors.
we both are. We both have a problem with being collectors of things. When I was a kid, it was football cards, and now it is herbs. And thank goodness for Prairie Wind Nursery in Oklahoma City. My friend Bill Ferris that runs that nursery, he is also a collector of herbs, and he has like 14 types of basil and all these different herbs. So I've tried a lot of them. We love herbs. I think herbs are one of the biggest things you can, or one of the best things that you can grow to help you have to be sustainable in growing. What I mean by that is if when you first start growing out and you start getting zucchini, it's very exciting, and you eat zucchini. Um, you're very excited about eating it, and then after about a week of that, you're bored. At least I was, and it was like this. I'm tired of eating zucchini every day. I need it to taste different, and that is where herbs come in because you can add basil one day or rosemary the next or whatever. You can make things taste
Makes
completely
it taste
different.
way different. And there's so many different flavors of basil. Like I get really excited for basil time
It's
whenever
almost basil
and
season.
it is almost time and I'm so
Yeah,
excited
we're two
because
weeks
like
away from planting basil.
yes, I'm so excited. But basil especially like you there's so many different flavors, especially like the cinnamon basil. It's always been my favorite. I love it because you can add that into like carrots and sweet potatoes. The kids love it. It makes it like almost sweet. It
Hmm.
is yeah.
As far as tips for herbs, that's one of those things I always grow in a smart pot. Specifically, any of the Mediterranean herbs, so rosemary, sage, thyme, anything like that that doesn't like to have its feet wet, or it's like it doesn't like to stay in water. They come from the desert area, so they'll get flooded at times, and then they'll go without water for a long time. So they really do well in those smart pots. So the number one tip I can give about herbs is to grow them in a raised bed or a smart pot or something. Just don't let them stay in water. They don't like that, and that'll cause issues. Um, and just try them all. Even things like so sage was something that we started growing in the beginning. Didn't really like it until we discovered you can make sage pesto, and
Oh
oh, it's so good.
yes. Yeah, if you've never tried sage pesto before, you definitely need to. It is so good. That's one of my favorite pestos.
Um, Next time I will go find all the questions beforehand. How often do you apply fertilizer? Yearly? Okay, so that depends on the plant. Some plants we don't really fertilize at all. Like some of these perennial, like rosemary and stuff, it might get one batch of fertilizer a year, and that's it. Other plants like spinach and tomatoes are pretty heavy feeders, and we're going to give them fertilizers more often. Some plants, like tomatoes, kind of need a specific regimen of fertilizer where they need nitrogen early on, and then once they start to bloom and start to flower, they need other nutrients. So that's why, like, I really recommend checking out the app and seeing the fertilizer information in there for each plant. And this is one of the areas we're going to be building out in Garden Plus as we continue to add features. Some of the features are going to be telling you when to fertilize, what to fertilize with, based on the plant, based on all that kind of stuff. So we're really excited to be adding those type of things. That's what we're going to be working on over the next few months.
It's definitely needed for me because I'm not like him. I don't remember when to fertilize or what to fertilize on certain plants. I can never remember. So I always have the app handy. You see, I told you I always use the app. So I always pull it up and I'm like, okay, do I fertilize this one? When did I last do this? Yeah.
Do you grow your herbs inside or outside? 99% outside. Occasionally, I will have some chives or something in the kitchen, growing along the counter.
Yeah.
But 99% of everything we grow is outside. The only stuff that we grow inside are seeds that we're starting indoors in the winter when it's too cold to put them outside. Otherwise, everything we grow is outside. Now we want to get into growing more indoor stuff. I think we do microgreens indoors too. So we do trays of microgreens, which are really nice. We do those indoors in the summer whenever we don't have the seed starting going on for everything else. It's what we use those grow lights for. Another question. What's your pet? Alice, I'm not. Do you understand what she's saying?
Are you not able to view notes from the archive section?
You should be able to.
Let me look.
Okay, we're gonna try it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be able to view your notes even after it's been archived. You just go to the archive tab and then plant or tap on the plant, and then the notes should still be there. So Carrie's she's trying it now
I didn't have any notes in for these
for
ones.
your one, but you can view.
But
Yeah.
that section's showing for me.
So Alice, you should be able to just put it in archive and then still.
Yeah, because there's a section for in garden and then archived plants. So if you go in there, you should see all of your archived plants, and then you should be able to go into it and then pull up your full plant log and the plant notes and everything like that. So hopefully that works for you.
Let us know if it doesn't, Alice.
Yeah.
Send us a message. We'll help you get. We'll figure it out. Question from Bernadette again. Soil mix. So let's talk about our soil mix. So first of all, I got to give credit to Square Foot Gardening for our soil mix because that's where we learned about the soil mix. Square Foot Gardening is the first gardening book we read, and it really resonated with me because it was written by an engineer. He comes at gardening from that perspective, and I really like how organized everything is and how methodical all of it is and all that kind of stuff. So the soil mix that we have came from that, and it's basically just a mix of 3 different ingredients. You have compost, which is the most important ingredient. That is the food for your plants. We like to get a mix of 5 different compost sources. So we get those and then mix them together and then use that as our compost. And then you use equal parts of peat moss. You can substitute coconut coir as instead, and we've been doing more of that lately. And then the third ingredient is vermiculite, and you can also substitute perlite for that. The last 2 ingredients, the coconut coir or peat moss, and then the vermiculite or the perlite, those ingredients don't provide any food to the plants or anything like that. They are strictly for helping the soil drain and also retain moisture. So the vermiculite holds water really well. So whenever you get a ton of water, those vermiculite pellets soak with water, and then as they dry out, they slowly release that water. So it helps with regulation. The peat moss or the coconut coir helps with just providing just helping you build that kind of substance for the roots to be able to get through and everything. So the most important part is the compost. Make sure you don't skimp on that. And we don't recommend buying compost from a store. Anything that's in a bag is probably not going to be what you want. You want to go to some search on Google for compost or general materials near you. Like around us, there's this place called Minnick Materials here in Oklahoma City that has a bunch of locations, and they have these giant piles of compost, and you can drive your truck in there. They dump it in the back, and then you drive away. Or if you don't have a truck, or if you're on smaller scale, then you can bring in like a tote. They'll fill that for you. That's where I recommend getting.
Fun called zoo poo.
Yeah.
That they get from our local zoo also. So that's really fun. We use that a lot whenever we were in the city before we had our animals.
Yep. So Alice comment again. She said, "How does she add new nodes?" So you're able to do it in there too, right?
Yes.
So if you go into Garden Plus and then you go into your archive tab, that plant will be in there. Then you can tap on the plant, and you still should be able to add nodes. You should be able to do everything that you did. She's testing to make sure it worked. Is the save button? Where's the save? Oh yeah, top right. So now she's going back in, make sure it's there. Yeah, it worked. So you should still be able to do everything that you can do while it's not in archive, while it's in archive. Hopefully that is what you're asking. Hopefully that makes sense. Question: do we sell the seeds to the weird herbs we're speaking of? Park Seed has thousands of seeds, so they may not have all of the specific ones that I mentioned.
They do have the basil ones.
They have lots of basil though, yeah, and they also sell live plants too. So you can order oregano and thyme, and so we are actually trying to grow everything that Park has. It's our audacious goal.
I don't think it's gonna happen this year, but
no, it's gonna take us a while.
We're trying really hard.
So we've ordered some of the live plants. We've ordered a lot of seeds. I mean, this whole container of seeds we showed earlier is full of seeds. So we're trying to grow every variety they have.
I have a bunch of different basil varieties, and oh gosh, I'm going to be planting a lot coming up very soon. So I will be making a video about that too.
Would you use the 1 gallon smart pot to grow herbs indoors? Absolutely. Yep. The one thing that I want to mention related to that though is something like basil needs a lot of sunlight, and it's hard to get that much sunlight indoors. So if you've got a window that faces the south, you might have a chance at it, but some of those herbs like a lot of sun, so you may have a hard time getting enough sun. How to contact us when we are not streaming? Well, you can message us. So you're commenting on from YouTube, so you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram and message us there. That's one way to get a hold of us. You can email us at info@seedtospoon.net.
Or you can always leave a comment on your YouTube video also. I try to get to them, but like we talked about before, there's like thousands of comments, which is great, but I do try and get through them, but may not be the most efficient way to get a hold of us, but hopefully it will at some point. And we're going to try and get better about doing this live stream. I think we're going to do it at least once a month to announce the winner here, and then we'll probably throw in another couple random live streams throughout the month also, so be looking out.
Yeah, I'll be honest with y'all, we were kind of nervous to do a live stream again. It's been a long time since we've done one. But this has been chill. This has been nice. So I really appreciate y'all jumping in and asking questions and stuff. That makes it a lot better. You know, when we tried to do live streams a couple years ago, it'd just be us sitting here awkwardly looking at the camera like, so what do we say now? So it was so weird. Hey Deborah, a little late to the party, or I can show her. Sweet, getting seeds planted today.
It's exciting. Yeah, I need to get out there and plant some more seeds today too. That's what we're going to be doing probably this afternoon after we do this.
We have a lot of videos coming soon. We've got like 4 stacked up, which is nice for us. And usually
we did a lot of planting yesterday, and like oh gosh, we did a lot. So there's going to be a lot of planting videos coming out really soon on YouTube.
Yeah, and if there's anything that you want to see more videos of, please let us know. If there's questions that you want to, like, that's where we get a lot of our video ideas from, is from scrolling questions, and we'll see one and think, oh, well, that's a good idea, and then that's a good question. Then we'll make a video for it. Carrie, you told me beforehand that if this went more than 15 minutes, you'd have to have an emergency pregnancy pee break.
Yeah,
so do you need to go do that for a minute? Are you okay?
I'm almost getting there, but I'm okay right now.
Okay.
But I'm probably going to have to be here soon.
The question was, are they all organic? About the Park seed. They do have some organic seeds. They have a category for that. I will say, and this is probably a controversial topic, so I tread into this lightly. My personal opinion is I'm not too concerned about whether the seeds are organic. I'm more concerned about how it's grown, because it's unlikely that seed is going to have anything in it that was. So say that the mom plant, if you will, was sprayed with fertilizer or with pesticide. It's unlikely any of that is going to make it into the seed that comes out of that plant. But if I'm buying a plant, like I don't like to buy plants from a nursery because like I know they're spraying them with fertilizer and things like that. That's going to make it harder for me to grow them when I get them back home because I'm not going to use fertilizer. They're going to be like, "Hey, where's my fertilizer?" I'm be like, "No, you're just going to eat this compost." Like so. I've got to like get the plant to accept. Hopefully that makes sense. But um, so when it comes to organic and things like that, I'm not as concerned about seeds as I am on other things. But they do have a lot of heirloom and organic and all that kind of stuff. The new update that's coming out this week, I actually added a filter. I got to code actually again. It was just fun. Since we came full time, I haven't been able to actually do coding on the app, and I got to do that again. And I built a filter so that you can go in and choose all the heirloom seeds or all of the award-winning seeds as well. So I can tell you though that Park Seed is all sourced here. I think mostly here in the U.S. They're packaged. They're definitely packaged here in the U.S. We went out there to their facility,
and I even got to
last
package
month.
some seeds because they do it all by hand.
Yeah.
I was amazed. So I got to actually like scoop seeds into packets and then like run them through the machine to get them closed. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, we got to meet the people in the facility. They've been working there for like 30 years. It's so cool. It's such a cool organization out there. What soil do we use when starting seeds? So depends. If we are in a hurry, then I will buy the Espoma mix seed starting mix too, don't they? Is that Espoma?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a seed starting mix that we have a link to in the app. It's from Espoma. If I have time or the ingredients on hand,
time or
then I will make a big batch of it on my own, which is basically just a mix of coconut core and vermiculite.
And also a lot of what we've been doing this year too is starting our seeds into the biodome, and they come with these little sponges, which are all like biodegradable. The roots just grow completely through it. So we take those plugs and plant those directly into either a seed starting mix or just directly outside too. So we've been doing a lot of using the biodomes and things like that this season too. They've been working amazing.
Just make sure you don't add any compost into your seed starting mix. It's probably going to be fine, but if there's any bacteria or anything like that, then the baby seedlings may like get dampening off is something that can happen where they die back, and that can be a cause of it. So we don't add any compost or fertilizer until they're usually like 3 to 4 weeks old, depending on the plant. But they need to have 2 to 3 sets of true leaves before we start adding fertilizer or compost or anything like that. I'm reading those questions. 1 second. Okay. So, question about sweet potatoes, and this applies to potatoes as well. So, organic sweet potatoes from the store will probably be fine. I would not go with anything that was not organic because a lot of times they spray them with, um, well, they're spraying them with naturally occurring hormones. But the point is, they keep them from sprouting. So they spray them with things that keep them from sprouting, and with potatoes that you're trying to grow, you want them to sprout. So it's not going to be good.
I mean, it can work. It just won't be as good as the organic or the seed potatoes.
Yeah. So you can buy them from a nursery. We also like to collect garlic. So when we have a date night, one of the things we like to do sometimes is go to all the grocery stores around here and go find garlic. We're very exciting, fun, cool people. So
well, it is exciting when you can find elephant garlic and
yeah,
plant that, because I love elephant garlic.
Purple garlic, like there's all sorts of
fun.
Yeah. So you could
that's why we get along so well.
We're very lucky we found each other. How to grow broccoli from seed. Mine looks leggy. Some of ours look leggy too, so don't feel alone there.
I actually made a video, what was that, like a month ago or so now, about this, because we had that issue when one of our grow lights had gone out. It wasn't as strong as the others, and it was also the light was too far up and the seeds had to grow to it. So yeah, we had the leggy issues too. So what you need to do first is make sure that light gets down to the seedling as close as possible, And make sure, if you aren't already, to water from below instead of the top. And what we also did too is we have a fan in our seed starting area too. And that is supposed to help them also to get a little bit stronger, because the concern when they get leggy is that they might break, especially if you take them out into the wind and take them outside and plant them right away. So you want to try and build up, the resistance to the wind and all that. So having a fan nearby too can really help.
Another question. Do they have bare roots? Yes. So Park Seed has bare root fruit bushes, things like that. They also have a giant warehouse of bare root roses. That was cool to see. We walked through and toured. They had, giant, like
huge,
the size of like 2 school gymnasiums, to picture it. And they keep it at 80% humidity and like 40 degrees year round. Pretty cool. So check. That's actually their sister company, Jackson and Perkins, that has those. So if you're looking for roses, check that out. But they also have, if you look in the app, you can see the varieties that we carry from them for each plant in the app. So if you go to the types tab, that'll list all the plants. And right now, when you click on buy, it'll take you to their website where you can buy from there. We are in the process of making it where you can buy directly through the app. So that's what we're working on now, so that you can just purchase right from the app. And then eventually we're going to be doing some really cool stuff. We'll get to that later, but we got some really cool ideas for where we're going to be going with some of this stuff. Great question here. Worm castings okay in seed starting mix? Yep, that's fine. When I've had worm castings in the past, I've used them in seed starting mixes, and they do amazing. I've had to scale back. Again, my problem is like I found myself buying worm castings off of Craigslist for like $40 a bag, and I was like, okay, I need to start making them myself or something. So that's we need to get to the point where we're doing more with worms and stuff. We did it a lot when we lived in the city because that was one of our only sources of plant nutrients. Now,
my daughter even had a shirt that said "Worm Farmer" on it too.
Now I think we're kind of spoiled by all the llama poop and everything that we've got on hand, and
yeah.
But those worm castings are really nice, and I like having those for seed starting. And I don't like paying the Craigslist guy $40 for a bag of worm poop. So
looks like we need to get started doing more
yeah,
worms again.
We need to do a video on that too. It's fun.
Yeah, everybody loves worms. The
Yeah.
kids love the worms, so it's a really fun way to get them involved too with the garden. Everybody loves playing
Save
worms.
on fishing supplies, right?
Wow.
Alice loves our date night ideas. Okay, good. Somebody
they're fun. We have fun nights.
Our castings, well, we've had some that I've made, and then the Craigslist guy. So
yeah, we've never.
I never bought them at the store. I never brought myself to do that. I was like, I'm not.
Right, it's probably very similar to our ideas about bagged compost too. Just probably not a lot of life, but.
Yep. Can you plant Leggy plants in the garden? Go for it. Just try and see how they go. I mean, they're going to do better out there than they're going to do under a grow light right now.
I would harden them off first, though. So like go through the process of over a week or so to slowly transition them to go out there, and especially with the wind, and if you have a fan, you can blow on them while they're inside just to kind of get them used to it. It'll help them have as much success as possible. But yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, it's always worth a try. I never want to throw anything away. I always want to just keep going.
You can plant them a little deeper too, like depending on what it is, like broccoli and stuff. You can actually plant a little deeper.
Yeah, any sort of brassica, which is the broccolis, and then especially tomatoes. You can plant tomatoes a lot deeper if your tomatoes are the ones that got leggy too.
Question here. Oh man, apple tree issues. We're real bad at apples. I'll tell you that. That's one of the things we have not been able to grow well. It seems like every year we've got a late freeze or something.
We always have, but we have a couple apples every year, but we've never had like a huge harvest of apples.
Something scraped the bark. So ideas for repair. I remember learning so I went to a master gardener class a couple years ago, and some of the ideas on repairing trees has changed. And really, they say just to leave it alone and let the tree repair itself. And if you try and mess with it too much, you can cause more problems. I would try and figure out what scraped the bark. I mean, it might just be something like a mower, but it could be an animal trying to get at it. And if that's the case, I would put a barrier of like hardware cloth around it with like some little T-posts just to keep something out of it. Or
Like a motion activated sprinkler.
that might work too.
Try and scare whatever it is away.
Mm-hmm. I don't know off the top of my head what would I remember hearing about things that will chew the bark on stuff. I don't remember what it was on an apple tree. Um, there might be something you can spray to deter, or like liquid fence or something like that.
Deer rub. Somebody.
Deer rub, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely.
That makes sense. Deer are hard to handle. I'll tell you that. A cool trick that I've heard about for deer. We don't have to do it here because we've got a Great Pyrenees, and the deer don't really come in here with him here. But something you can do with deer that's pretty economical, because you got to build the ultimate answer is build an 8 foot tall fence, but that's not a great answer for a lot of people. So something else you can do is put T-posts around the garden and then run fishing line like every so often. Then you can put bells on that fishing line, and then the deer hit that, the bells go off, it scares them, and then it'll train them to stay away from that area. The motion activated sprinkler might work on deer. I don't know. We need to do a test out here with our deer family that lives out there and set up a camera and see what they do with the motion activated sprinkler.
Yeah.
It might just come for a drink every day.
I'm guessing the shock of it though
probably
would
but then once they learn it, I don't know.
Yeah, that would be the thing where you would probably want to move it every so often.
This calls for a science experiment.
Yeah. Another date night activity, right?
We have tested the motion activated sprinkler on children, and that is very fun. I recommend that. So just set it up, be like, hey, can you go over there for a minute? They walk over there, it comes on, it's chaos. It's great.
They think it's fun, and then they just intentionally walk over there for the rest of the afternoon.
Yep. This is definitely how it works.
So it attracts children, but it helps to repel other pests.
When are you due?
Oh, I am due actually 7/11. Very exciting. It's an easy date to remember. So middle of July. Very excited. And we don't know. We're not finding out if it's a boy or a girl yet. So we're gonna wait until it comes out and find out then. It'll be fun.
I've heard this before about Irish Spring soap keeping pests away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We haven't tried that. We just have such a big garden that I'd be out there shaving soap for like an hour, I feel like.
Yeah, so what we do around our garden, we just have like this poultry wire or netting around it, and that keeps most everything out of the bigger critters, at least, and our chickens. And
yeah, it's like electric. It's from Premier One. Do we have a video about it? I think so.
I mention it in a lot of videos. I don't know if I have
probably
one
need to make one just on it.
Just that.
We originally got it to keep chickens in an area, and then we realized, hey, this will keep chickens out too.
Yeah.
And then now we use it because nothing else will keep our chickens out. They're
relentless. They see the garden, they're like, "Ooh, that looks tasty."
Yeah, but they can be helpful because we lock them in the garden at the end of the season. We want everything cleared out, all the weeds gone, and they
go through. They eat bugs. They eat they eat everything.
They work with the pigs. They tag team it.
Yep.
I'm not familiar with that, but I will Google it after this. Hey, we caught up on questions. Whole bars out in the garage, no mice or rats. Oh, okay. That's good to know. Because for the most part, the cats handle our mice issues, but there's still every now and then, especially in the summer, we'll start to see it. So we'll try that.
Yeah, that'd be a lot easier than going and shaving them.
Yeah. We're at an hour already. Can you believe that?
Oh, wow. Wow, that went by fast.
Yeah, it did. Do y'all have any other questions? I can go pull in I can go look at YouTube for more questions we got, but an hour is probably a good place to stop. If y'all don't have any other questions, we'll give y'all just a few more seconds here to throw your questions into the chat. Another reminder: if you are joining late, the winner of the March contest is Donna Alexander. So
Yay, Donna.
congratulations, Donna. You asked a lot of great questions this month, so we appreciate all y'all's feedback and all the questions that we got.
And then don't worry too, if you did not win, we will be doing another giveaway for this month of April coming up. I will be making a video about that here shortly. So part of what we're doing while we're planting, I guess, is making that video.
Yeah, but we'll give you a hint. You enter the exact same way that you entered all the other months, where you just comment on our YouTube and subscribe, and that's all you got to do to enter. And for each comment, you're entered that extra time. Yep. So, another question came in. We'll answer here. Cabbage moths. Yes, we have issues with cabbage moths, but they're easy to handle. So, first option is pay your toddlers a quarter to pick off caterpillars. That works well for a few months or until they turn like 9. We found they're not really interested at 9 anymore in picking off worms for quarters.
Unless you increase the amount of bounty that you're going to need.
Yeah. But seriously, there's this product out there that's, I'm not going to even try and pronounce it because it's a very long name. But if you search for BTK Caterpillar Killer, that is what we use. And it's completely organic. It's a naturally occurring soil bacteria that you can spray on your leaves. And when the caterpillars eat it, they die. And it does not affect humans because we are not caterpillars. It's just the soil bacteria that's no chemicals or anything like that. We try not to use it. I mean, I try to not use anything really if I can help it. So we try and just pick them off for a while. We try and do a lot of insect netting. Insect netting will help a lot too, and that'll help with wind, and it'll help with our random 90-degree days in April or whatever, whenever we get it. So those are all the things that we use. Again, check out our app. It has sections in there. It has a pest section in there, and cabbage moths are in there, and we have all this in there for cabbage moths as well. When starting seeds, do we need to cover them? Some seeds require light to germinate, and I don't have that memorized as far as which ones they are. So we just use light on all of them.
I put the biodome cover on top whenever I'm doing seed starting, so that
Mm-hmm.
way it keeps that area as humid as possible while I'm sprouting. But then whenever they start to sprout, I take the cover off, and then
Before we had the biodome, I didn't usually use those cheap covers because they always broke after like 50 seconds of me having them.
Yeah, they're
because
just super flimsy. Like you can just go like that with them. They just
And I'm a clumsy person. I break everything. So if it's not well made, I'm going to break it in a hurry. So we didn't cover them a lot, but we didn't have a lot of seed starting success in previous years either. We've had the best success we've ever had this year with these biodomes.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Like my germination rate has been like almost 100%, which is absolutely incredible. It's been off the charts.
Well, I see lots of people saying thank you. I appreciate all of that. Thank you. We've really enjoyed this. This has been fun.
And chatting with us.
Yeah, we will definitely do this again. I don't think we'll even be nervous to do it again next time. So this was awesome. If y'all have any other questions that come up after this live stream, put them in the comments for this live stream, and we will go back on our next one and start there. When I make my list instead of scrolling awkwardly while y'all wait on me to find questions. So, anything else we want to say? Have a good weekend. Hope y'all are able to plant stuff this weekend, and excited for y'all to get this update this week. Let us know what y'all think. So talk to y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.